activities. Okay, go ahead.
Councilmember Donahue, sound check.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, great. Mayor Gailey, sound check.
As we're talking about. Yes.
Mayor Gailey, can you hear us?
Is anyone on a meeting?
Nice to meet you.
You're on meeting. It's a bad idea.
Tennis player.
Okay.
It's the tennis player.
Mayor Gailey, can you hear us?
Maybe 500 to 2.
Can you hear me?
Can you put your digital hand up, Mayor, if you can hear me?
We can see us. You have a digital hand up?
Okay, I do see your hand up, so he can hear me, but we can't hear him.
Okay, then his microphone, check his microphone, audio source.
Mayor Gailey, can you check your audio source for your microphone?
Yeah, they did.
They couldn't.
It always amazes me after you join the same meeting.
Yeah.
Your 100th time. Did it
Yes.
suit you? Happens on my computer too.
We got a couple injuries, but against some big teams. We need.
So, is he still-
We need 2 to get into a bowl game, 3 to get his decent.
We're up before citizen comments.
Win. Season's good. We did win education today.
I did my tests on both of them, neither one of them worked, so I'll see if I can just phone in.
We can hear him now.
Okay, cool, all good.
Awesome.
All right, are we good?
I think
So-
I'm good now.
Okay, do another test with him.
Up there, so yeah.
You have me now, Kelly?
Yep, Mayor Gailey, I can hear you.
Okay, cool.
Councilmember Donahue, can you say something?
Test.
Great. No, we're live.
All right, it is 6 o'clock, October 24th, 2023, and we are here for our second city council meeting of the month of October. Sitting here at the mill in the Sawyer's room or on Zoom. Welcome, everybody. Thanks for being here. Let's call this meeting to order and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Quick challenge, can I get a roll call, please?
So we have Mayor Gailey online with us tonight, and I'll go ahead and do the roll call. Councilmember Daughtry,
Present.
Councilmember Peter Shagan,
Present.
Councilmember Donahue, who's virtual,
Present.
Councilmember Dickinson, present, Councilmember Jorstad,
Present.
Councilmember Ewing,
Present.
Councilmember Tajin.
Present.
Thank you. We have an agenda in front of us.
Move to approve the agenda.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
No.
It's up to the council.
Council President, did you want to make a motion? Are you good?
No, I didn't want to off the agenda. You want to rescind it. Got it.
Following instructions.
Doing really well.
So we have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion about the agenda as presented? All right, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. We have an agenda. We will move on to guest business and I will turn it over to our Parks Director Garceau to introduce Tyler Ambrose.
Hey, awesome. I'm here and brought Tyler with me. Tyler is our newest addition to the Parks and Recreation Department. He joined us as a crew worker I think it's been about 2 months ago now. Awesome. So this is our third attempt at getting him on the agenda, just changes in schedules. You've seen his name a few times, but maybe the first time you've seen his face. He joined us from the city of Issaquah, where he started as a 6-month seasonal employee and then followed by 1.5 years of full-time employment with their Parks Department. Prior to that, he has experience in landscaping, restoration, trail work, and the disaster field. He graduated with an associate's degree in general studies from the Everett Community College in 2016. Tyler and his fiancée Laura wanted to move closer to her work in Snohomish, and his searches, he stumbled upon us, Lake Stevens, and the job at the Parks Department. We applaud his fiancée for wanting to move up here and bringing Tyler to us. He also has one dog named Avery, who is a pit bull mix. When he's not working, he plays a lot of disc golf and enjoys riding horses. Welcome.
All right. We will now move into citizen comments. If there is anyone here in the room that would like to address the council, please fill out a green sheet. We'll start online. We have anyone on Zoom who would like to participate in citizen comments.
I am not seeing anybody's digital hand raised. So again, as Council President Jorsad stated, if you would like to speak to the council, if you could raise your digital hand, I can bring you into the meeting for citizen comment. There's only a couple people with no hands.
Okay, great. Thank you. I don't see any green sheets. Is there anyone here that is hoping to make citizens? No, they're here. Okay. That sounds good. All right, no citizens comments this evening. Thank you. We will move into council business. I'm going to start on Zoom with Councilman Donnie.
So nothing to report this week. Just my apologies for not being there in person, but hearing my voice, you can probably guess why I decided to spare you all the pleasure of my company. So sorry about that, but nothing to report.
No worries. Thank you. We'll start at the end with Councilman Paget.
Swung through Harvest Fest, lots of fun treats and got a little wet out there, but overall, I think it was a success.
Thank you, Councilman Ewing.
Yeah, also like to echo that all the effort and that went into the Harvest Market was well attended and lots of great vendors and just appreciate Sarah and her efforts to make our farmers market a success and forward to the Winter Fest being equally successful. And thanks to all those who ordered the reasonably good weather. It was very pleasant.
Thank you, Councilwoman Dickinson.
I went to the comprehensive plan meeting and it was really awesome. Beautifully done and many citizens were there.
Mary,
Can
you pull your microphone a little closer?
I can do that. Is that better? Okay. I went to the comprehensive plan meeting and thank you very much, Mr. Wright, for all the work you put into it and everyone else. It was great. I don't forget to give them your feedback because I think they need to have you make an assessment of how we're doing. The Harvest Fest was also well done. It was great to speak with folks at the Grimm House and to see the Creator Zone booth there as well. I did go to the library board meeting right here last Thursday, busy day. And they are still looking for a board member. So heads up if you're interested in becoming a board member for the library. I know they would love to hear from you. And hoping somebody will step up soon. They're working hard trying to get that library going. So it was good to have them there. It was good to see them. That's all I've got.
Thank you, Councilman Peter Sagan.
Yes, I attended the comprehensive plan open house last Wednesday as well. It's great to see a lot of citizen participation. And it's good turnout. So kudos to staff for putting that on. So thank you.
Great. Councilman Daughtry.
I also went to the comp plan open house. Kudos to Russ Wright. I think that your presentation was very professional and very well done, and people understood exactly what was going on when they were done with that. Some of the comments I heard in the open house part of it were very positive, and some people said that they'd never understood it so well. So that was good. Also went to the Snohomish County Cities dinner Thursday, and where he got a download from PSRC about the legislative work that they did last year on requiring duplexes and things on our properties and stuff like that. So wasn't well received by the electeds, but we kind of figured out what that was going to be there anyway. Then we have another discussion about affordable housing. And unfortunately, that wasn't well received either, because basically what they said was, yeah, affordable housing is never going to be affordable. It just doesn't work that way anymore. So it's like, well, what are you doing then? You know, why are we doing this? So anyway, they're still trying to figure out how to do it. It is going to take supplemental things from government to make that happen. And we definitely need to be on top of that to find out how we might be able to help here in our region. So that's all I got.
Thank you. I also attended the Snohomish County Cities dinner, and following that was had a copy of the report that the county report that talks about the uses of the dollars for affordable housing. I'll make sure and send that out to council so that everyone can see it.
I'd like to see that.
Yeah. Also wanted to let the council know, if you'll remember when the health district became the health department at the beginning of last year. The district maintained a board presence to wrap up the work of the district to be able to dissolve the district within 2023. We have our final meeting on Thursday, and I anticipate that will be the final meeting of the Snohomish Health District. The work that in that body will be dissolved, but I'll make sure and keep folks posted.
So you were able to merge both of them in less than 1 year.
The health department has been independent and part of the county since January. There've been some bumps, but it's fully within Snohomish County. The work of the district, merging contracts and wrapping up some of the financial pieces has been ongoing, but I think is coming to a close. Yeah.
Council President, I received an email. The district's attorney, just letting me know that their final act is they have to go to Superior Court. They have a judge sign off on their dissolution. So they're going to be serving every member of the district for those demons. And she simply wanted to know who should they serve process to and who would kind of respond back to them. So I talked to Gene, and I'll just get the service of the process. If there, it should be pretty standard pro forma. If anything comes up, alert the mayor and Gene and deal with it.
That's great. Thank you. Appreciate the additional information. Moving into mayor's business. Mayor Gailey, do you have information to share tonight?
Yeah, real quick, can you hear me okay?
We can.
Okay, great. I'm sorry for not being there in person. I brought Olivia, our grant writer, over to Wenatchee, and we are attending the Infrastructure Assistance Coordination Council. It's kind of like a grant conference on where all the money is for infrastructure. So we came up here today, and I've already made some really good contacts and some good ideas on some of the projects we're going to be doing in the future. So so far so good up here, but I won't take too much time, but just wanted to apologize for not being in person.
Thank you, Mayor. Next item is City Department report, and Director Wright is going to talk to us about the Q3 planning and community development.
All right. Good evening. Thank you, Council. Again, for the record, Russ Wright, Community Development Director. So every quarter, we've been trying to give you an update on both our long range work program, our permitting function, and other things that the department has done. So as we look at the long range work program, those are the items that we take in front of the Planning Commission, who gives a recommendation back to the council, or that require lots of community engagement. So the first couple of quarters of this year, we were able to complete several projects that we'd been working on, including the 2023 Comprehensive Plan Annual Update, our Housing Action Plan, our Shoreline User Guide, and the Lake Stevens Industrial Center Infrastructure and Market Analysis. We've had some code amendments in front of the Council and Planning Commission. We're close to finalizing our solicitor's license. We believe the code cleanup project should be completed by the end of the year or into January of next year. We have provided a revised work program, and that's really looking forward to some of the implementation pieces with our 2024 comp plan update. And then Christy Schmidt, our planning manager, has continued to represent the city with the community transit micro transit program. As we look at our permit numbers are up year to date and over a comparison of third quarter of last year. As indicated, though, the dollar amounts are lower, and that's just indicating that we're processing a lot of smaller projects. And then there's a breakdown of the land use to building permit projects that we're seeing. We have had some bigger or more notable permits come through: Starbucks, Chipotle, additional tenant improvements at the high school, and the Pin Cove Brewery is opened up, Creator Zone, obviously. What's kind of interesting, the staff broke up the statistics on some of the building permits a little bit differently. So in the last quarter, we've processed 35 single family permits, which is 1.8 houses per business day. I thought that was kind of a fun way to display that. We have an additional 37 single family permits under review and some multifamily projects as well. And if you get questions about what our review times look like, our average review time's been about 6 weeks for a single family permit when we have a complete application. One of the questions the council had is, what are we doing on our short-term rental program? So year to date, we've had 18 short-term rental applications. We have processed and completed 9 of those applications, and the others are in various states of processing, including one that I signed today. 2 applications have been withdrawn, and one of the questions that the council wanted us to come back with was to look at the hours we've spent processing those permits. So pulling the information from our permit system, we've spent on an average of 4.3 hours. Just pointing out, this doesn't include the director's review, any final revisions on those decisions, and then releasing the permit. So taking everything into consideration, the 5 hours that we estimated for permit review time was accurate. And so that's consistent with the fee that council had established. As we break down what types of short-term rentals are we seeing, it's probably been over 50% that have been an operator, not an owner operator. So we are seeing that there are a lot of managers and not on-site people living and operating those businesses. I'll take a pause there and ask if there are any questions up to this point. Okay. And then also wanted to just share with the council, we talk a lot about public records. Unfortunately, over the last quarter, a lot of those public records have been related to my team. So we've been helping the clerks fulfill a lot of records. That's been 42 individual public records requests, which at least in the last quarter was about 62% of all citywide record requests that, my team and the clerks have to help process. Taking a look at code enforcement over the last quarter, there were 29 new cases, 61 cases that were closed, and then we're working on about 31 additional cases. The code enforcement officer continues to be proactive on maintaining non-conforming signs in the right-of-way and work with property owners on graffiti and the police department to make sure that we try to keep that under control. In fact, a couple of weeks ago, our code enforcement officer helped out a lot with an investigation for a graffiti at North Cove Park that I think we were able to identify some suspects pretty quickly. The team continues to work on lean process improvements. We've been working with the program with Public Works to redefine our construction plan review process. We've revamped what we call our technical staff review. That's where all of the project reviewers get together, and it had lost its way a little bit. So everyone is refocused to make sure that the right people are at the meeting and bringing forward good, meaningful conversations so we can get our permits done efficiently. And then one of the things that we've done recently is folded in the construction plan review permit process into our permit tracks. So there are regular inspections. So when Public Works does their inspections, their civil inspections, those are now consistent and go into our permit system. So we have good records of what those corrections look like. We've been working also to update our bond release process. I know all of these things aren't exciting, but they mean a lot to our customers that we're working towards a effective processing. And then working with parks, we continue to work on how to improve the event permit processing because there's some overlap between the two teams on those. Lots of training. I won't go over all of those, but our building official makes sure that her team gets weekly training on different aspects of the building code. Likewise, we've been able to support parks and provide some training as they start to clerk their own meetings now. Different trainings that we've attended, including the American Planning Association Conference with some of the team, the Code Enforcement Conference, and then the International Conference of Managers and Administrators. Our grants person has continued to play an important role on our team, plays a really important support role for all departments. Has been able to support the mayor on some special projects with the Sam Keone's event, our legislative reception that we held earlier this year, applied for about 4 grants over the last cycle. We've received grant funding from the Snohomish Conservation Future Funds for property purchase to do some protection around the Hartford area along Catherine Creek. And then just working on a lot of special projects with communications, including with WashDOT, social media posts, etc. For economic development, we've done commercial outreach. I didn't include on here that we had done the 91st project, but you already have heard about that and the outreach that we've received. Our marketing consultant has provided a report of the recent outreaches that they've done. And then we've been working with Public Works again on our wayfinding signs. We should have 3 additional wayfinding signs purchased and installed by the end of this year. It's actually probably going to be more as I got into the budget. So I put illustrations in there that show what our vertical gateway signs will look like and what our monument signs will look like. We don't have enough budget to do the monument signs this year, so we'll be able to double up on the vertical gateway signs and then bring back as part of next year's budget. It's already in there to do additional gateway monument signs. So those would be the larger ones. And then a couple of big projects coming in, including a couple of large mixed use projects and the Chapel Hill project that we've talked about briefly. And I think that is about it. If there are any questions, happy to answer those.
Thank you so much, Russ.
You're
Any
welcome.
questions from the council?
Yes, I just have a comment. I've already shared this with Russ privately, but I'll share it publicly. So we are to blame for the low permit percentage. We had a very small permit thing we did at our home, and I was just really impressed with the permit process, the helpfulness of the staff, and with the inspection process. It was very as professional an experience of that type that I've had. So I just wanted to commend those responsible for that, and it's very much appreciated.
Thank you for that.
Thank you. Anything else? Thank you so much, Director Wright. Appreciate it. Moving on to the consent agenda. Can I get a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Motion is second. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Thanks, Ryan. No opposed. Motion passes. Sorry, let me get myself in order here. We'll now move into the public hearing section of the agenda. The first will be on ordinance 1172, the 2024 property tax levy. I'm just realizing I don't have the public hearing script. Is that something that you are able to read, Clerk Chellen? Okay, that'd be great.
Paraphrase.
So we will open the public hearing, you will open the hearing, and then allow us on presentation first. And then
Sounds great. All right, so I will now open the public hearing and turn it over to Director Stevens to share information about ordinance 1172. Thank you, Council. See if I can put this on this side. There's so much going on over here. Welcome to the 2024 budget public hearing portion of our budget. We are required to have a number of public hearings during this process. The first one is on property tax, so that is what we are going to do now. We're going to cover a number of things in this public hearing, including property tax limitations, including the assessed values, limit factors, property tax levy for 2024, property tax levy breakdown by the taxing districts, and then the tax levy comparison for 2023 to 2024. Most of you have seen these property tax limitations before, but for those of you who haven't, there's a number of things that limit the amount that property tax can be increased by an entity every year. The first is the statutory dollar rate. This is a maximum rate set by statute by RCW. For a city like ours that's annexed into a fire district or a library district, that statutory dollar rate is $3.60 per 1,000 of assessed value. Since we are annexed into a fire district and library district, they get the $1.50. Library district gets up to 50 cents and the city gets up to $1.60 for regular levy. I know most people know that fire district and library district go out for different levies. Those are not part of this regular levy calculation. And there are some other things that go on with this when assessed value goes way down, like we've had in the past. It drives your levy rate up. And then if, say, the library district didn't take their full 50 cents, then the fire district or the city could take those portions and so, or utilize those portions for the year. But we don't have that in this case. The levy limit, this is the maximum the city can increase the regular levy over the previous year, not including banked capacity or refunds. This is 101% or the implicit price deflator. And we'll talk about that one in a little bit. And then there's highest lawful levy. This is the maximum amount levy allowed based on the statutory dollar rate and the levy limit. The statutory amount, again, is a calculation that's created by your statutory limit and your assessed value. Assessed values, the assessed values in the city of Lake Stevens decreased about 2.2% over prior year. And then the implicit price deflator is 3.67% for 2024. This is important as for a city that's of our size, over 10,000, if it was less than 1% or negative, then we would have to, in order to raise the percentage or raise the tax up to that 1%, we would have to do a finding of substantial need or a second ordinance. And we do not have that, obviously, in this case. So in this case, the 2024 limit factor is a 101% or 1% increase over prior year. This is a look at our 2024 property tax levy based on that information. The total levy amount is about $6.4 million. The levy rate is 76 cents. So the general fund is still allocated 72% and the street fund is allocated 28%. This calculates to approximately a 3% increase overall, 1% regular levy increase, new construction at 89,000 and then annexation at 1,600.
The the annexation is actually interesting. Last year, it was over 525,000 because we did large annexations the year before last year. And then it caught up. And so annexations done last year, the assessed value on that, the amount that we're getting is about $1,600 for that. So I have a chart here kind of just breaking out your levy increase, your highest lawful levy, the revenue increase over the 2023 levy, that's column B. It says 62,653. This is slightly different than the ordinance 1172. The ordinance says 1% levy increase equals the 59,348. Per the RCW, the ordinance must show the 1% increase over actual prior levy. But it's actually when Snohomish County assessors calculate it, it's actually the higher of that or the highest level levy. So it's just slightly different. We just put in the amount that says for the ordinance. So your levy rate is actually going up to 76 cents per 1,000. Last year it was 72 cents per 1,000, and that's because your assessed value goes down. Assessed value goes down, your levy rate goes up. The majority of this slide looks at our 2023 tax levy as an example. So the taxing districts are Lake Stevens School District, the state school levy, Snohomish County Regional Fire. Then you have the city of Lake Stevens portion, Snohomish counties, and then Snow Isle Library. So the total tax levy for 2023 was approximately $8.13 for the majority of Lake Stevens. We do actually have 10 or 12 different taxing districts, and there's I believe it's 3 different amounts. We have 2 taxing districts that are in, actually I think we have 4 taxing districts in the Snohomish School District, and 2 of them are at $1 rate and the other one is at a different dollar rate due to fire and Snohomish County bonds. And so they're all within a couple of dollars of each other, but the city of Lake Stevens portion is the same across the board. So for the 2023 example, the city portion was 72 cents per 1,000 of assessed value. Looking at a home value of 500,000, the levy, total levy was $361.09 for the city's portion.
So Barb.
Yes.
I'm gonna stop you there. I got a question real quick. Cindy Addison in the fire district and the library district. So the fire district have $1.50, library is 50. Is that assuming that they're at the top of their rate?
No, they don't have to be. The only time that gets taken into consideration, as I mentioned, is if our assessed value goes down so far that it pushes our levy rate to that $1.60. We had that 1 year, maybe 10 years ago, where we actually had bank capacity, but it pushed our levy rate, the assumed levy rate, to $1. I think it was $1.70 something, but they didn't take their full, theirs didn't go in the same manner as ours. So they didn't take their full 50, they took the 50 cents, but the library district didn't take their full 50 cents. And so we were able to go up to $1.60 and then we still got capped out.
So does any of this that we're talking about right now get affected by the levy lid that the fire district is trying to raise?
No, this is the 50 cents. I mean, the $1.50 is just their regular levy. It doesn't have anything to do with their ambulance or any of the school infrastructure, capital, O&M. Those are all separately voted on by the citizens.
Okay, thank you.
So looking at the 2024 example, as I mentioned, the assessed value decreased by 2.2%, increasing our levy rate to 76 cents. So based on that same $500,000 value, if your home property decreased by that 2.2%, it would be at a value of $498,000. And then with that 76 cents per 1,000 assessed value for the city, you would go up $10.54 in 2020. I'm saying it says, increase of for 2024 is what it should say. Increase of $10.54 over 2023. So it's $2.11 increase per $100,000 of assessed value. So that's what you were looking at on this one. I know we've had this discussion a number of times. You know, everybody wants to know, okay, well, what if it's a higher value? What if it's a lower value? And so I try to break it down. $100,000 assessed value, $500,000 assessed value, $1 million assessed value. What do those look like, those comparisons? And I know that one says city portion variance 2022 to 2023. It is actually 2023 to 2024. But your variances, as I mentioned, $2.11 per 1,000 assessed value, $21 for city portion if your home value is $1 million. And then, as we've mentioned in the past, every parcel varies. I mean, obviously, we don't all decrease 2.2%. So if the assessed value decreased more than the 2.2%, then the amount of the property tax owed will decrease. And those that decrease less or increase will pay that additional portion of the difference. That is the full presentation on property tax. So our recommendation is to authorize the 1% increase over the regular property tax from prior year. And council has any questions?
Great, thank you. Any council, any questions from council for Director Stevens? All right, hearing none, we'll go ahead and move to the public comment section of our agenda. If anyone we'll start online first. Anyone has public comment related to this topic, the property tax levy and ordinance 1172, please raise your digital hand and our clerk will bring you in to speak.
So I do have one hand up for Mary. Let me bring you into the meeting, Mary. Mary, I've sent you an invitation to join the meeting. If you would like to speak to the council, I need to bring you into the meeting. She has declined my invitation to come into the meeting.
Okay,
I have no other hands up.
thank you. Yep, appreciate it. Do we have anyone in person who would like to use this time to speak to the property tax levy and ordinance 1172? I have a hand raised in the back. Go ahead and step to the podium and state your name and address, and then you'll have 3 minutes to speak.
Okay, yeah, something to speak about other than the taxes?
I'm sorry, our open public hearing has ended. This is just for this current ordinance for the property taxes.
Okay, so this is something else. Can I talk about it at the end of the meeting?
No, public comment has ended. It was that we start with public comment at the beginning of our meetings.
Okay, because I lived in Lake Stevens for 15 years at 95296 6th Street Southeast. My name is Brian Philip Quinn.
So Brian, you're welcome to send me send the council an email or send me an email and I'd be happy to forward it on at this point.
Because I was granted material of my house and restored it on all money and then also granted that.
Okay,
So it's very, very serious.
we'll follow back up with you, Brian, and you can get your message to council. Another hand came up again, and so I'm just gonna see if I can. Mary, are you able to hear me? And would you like to speak to the council regarding the property tax levy? Mary, last chance, your hand's up, but you're still muted. If you'd like to speak to the council regarding the property tax levy, please unmute.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead, Mary.
Hello?
Yes, Mary, we can hear you.
1 sec. Oh, that's better. I think I can hear you now. Fuck the Jews.
Okay, Mary, this is a public hearing for property tax. I'm gonna.
Okay, taxes are Jewish. Hail Hitler.
She's out.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Do we have anyone here in person who would like to participate in public comment about the property taxes? Seeing no more hands, we are going to go ahead and close public comment. And I'm going to go ahead and move to close the public hearing at this point.
Excuse me, can we strike those comments from the record, please?
Absolutely. Does
Yeah,
that require a motion?
I didn't plan to include them.
All right,
Great.
appreciate that.
Thank you so much.
We have another hand up again. I'm gonna look to you, Council President, if you want to.
I think we gave opportunity for public comment and the public hearing has been closed. Yeah, we're gonna move forward. Okay, thank you. So at this point, we are looking for a recommendation by council. Is there any, I'm sorry, is there any further discussion by council? Or a motion?
I would move to approve ordinance number 1172, authorizing collection of property tax levy for 2024 and setting the property tax levy.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor of adopting ordinance 1172, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Motion passes.
That's always tricky, understanding how the levies work. Properties go up, levy goes down.
Mhm.
goes down.
I had several years ago, I had an hour-long conversation with Barb Stevens about property tax levy. So she finally brought me up to figuring out how it really works. And it was, I think we argued for an hour trying to get me to understand it.
Snohomish County assessor does a great levy class, and it's free of charge. They do a great levy class. They go through the whole process. I actually sent a couple of my people to it recently and said, it's time for you to learn property tax.
No, I still thank Barb for the hour-long discussion we had. It was pretty one-sided, but I was being really hard-headed on it and just could not understand the fuzzy math. And that was the exact thing that what you said, Marcus, was, you know, this goes up, this goes down. It's like, what? Yeah. It took me a long time.
Well, we're fortunate to have the expertise of Director Stevens again as we move into as we move into public hearing B. Public hearing number 1, the 2024 budget ordinance 1173. I will go ahead at this time and open our second public hearing of the evening and turn it over to Director Stevens to discuss ordinance 1173.
Thank you, Council. So this is public hearing number 1 on the overall budget. We are required to have at least 2 on the proposed budget, so we will come back again in November. So I want to take a look at the budget process timeline. I know some citizens kind of see the advertisement for the public hearings and they think this is kind of all you've done through this process. And so I kind of wanted to go through and outline all of the things that we've done for the budget and gone through the budget process. The budget process starts with, priority discussions with the mayor and city council in July with an introduction to the budget, going over the budget calendar, going over the mayor and the council's budget priorities. And then in early August, we create the base budget and look at a 6-year forecast. We use revenue projections based on trends, data from outside sources like Washington City's Insurance Authority, Association of Washington Cities, Municipal Research Service Center, and they do an annual budget suggestion and revenue expectations. So we utilize all of those. And then our expenditures on that base budget are looking at current staffing levels and current program levels. And then there's some initial increases for just cost of living type things, fuel costs, communication, that type of thing. And then I send out the instructions to department heads with the initial instructions on how to make requests. And then mid through late August, the department heads requests are compiled and then they're presented to the mayor and the city administrator. And then throughout, and then we actually go and do an executive staff roundtable. So we all get together and we go over all of the requests and look to see if there's any kind of duplications or look at priorities and work on that, knowing that there's limited resources in the city and where does that need to go and what's the most important overall for meeting your priorities. And so we go through all of that, and then throughout December, we do multiple budget presentations and council review and discussion. In September, we had 3 budget discussion meetings with city council to review the initial budget, estimated revenues, strategic staffing plan, and the preliminary proposed budget, including the capital projects. In October, we had 2 additional study sessions with council to finalize the proposed budget. The proposed budget was made available to to the citizens on Friday. We have that posted onto the website as well as ClearGov. So I have the packet that was submitted to council on the website in the finance budget page, as well as a downloaded PDF copy of our digital budget book that's also there, as well as a link to ClearGov. I did send those out to council tonight in case you hadn't had an opportunity to take a look at them. There's a lot of information in there. ClearGov is really good at helping us compile the data and put it together, lots of graphs and charts, and you can drill down if you actually go into the link on ClearGov versus looking at the PDF. It's just obviously pictures from. So now we are into October and our first and second public hearings. These are 2024 budget priorities created by the mayor and discussed, reviewed, and approved by city council. We are looking at maintaining public health and safety. This includes American Public Works Association accreditation. We are working on that diligently and hope to have that all of the steps done by the end of the year and then continue through the process next year. We're enhancing the transportation program. Last year, the citizens approved the transportation benefit district sales tax. So we will be utilizing that funding moving forward. Enhancing the park and recreation program. Completing the capital projects in process. We have a lot of capital projects that are budgeted in 2023 that are ongoing. We do have some new ones in 2024 as well, but some of those 2023 projects are multi-year and will move forward as well. We're also looking at streamlining citywide processes to increase our levels of service. We continue to do that with our training and with our IT and looking at all of their systems, and then attracting and retaining highly qualified staff. This is a look at our budget by fund, which is how we budget. So that's looking at your beginning fund balances, your revenues, your expenditures, and your ending fund balances, and looking at your totals. So these are grouped by fund. So I have them by fund type. So you have your general fund, which includes your general operating fund, your reserve fund, the managerial permit fund, and then the pandemic recovery funds. The operating fund includes your administration, your police, your community development, and parks. You have your special revenue funds is the next section. Those are the 100 funds. The largest portion of this is in your street fund. We also have the transportation benefit fund is also a special revenue fund. Next is your debt service funds. We only have 3 outstanding debts now that need a separate fund. The ones that are in proprietary fund, which is stormwater, are actually in their own stormwater debt fund. Then we have your capital project funds. This is where obviously a lot of restricted funding goes and limited funding utilized for capital projects. And then, as I mentioned, proprietary funds, those are your 400 funds. We have 3 stormwater funds, stormwater operating, capital, and debt service. And we do maintain a sewer fund. The only source of revenue on that is the district, it's from the district for the agreement fee that we have annually, and then the debt service for the loans we have on their behalf. And then the 500 funds, those are internal service funds. We utilize those to accumulate funds to actually purchase vehicles, computers, public works equipment, that sort of thing. The one all the way on the bottom of the treasurer's trust fund, that is not our money. It's money that just gets passed through us. So from the court to the state, or however that works. So leasehold excise tax that come in and go out, that kind of thing. This is just, again, a summarization of the proposed budget by fund. You can see in the general fund, which I have in here, general funds. So the general fund 000, the top line or top row, that is our actual operating funds. And then the other general funds are the managerial funds that I mentioned earlier. So we're looking at a total proposed revenue budget of 45 million and expenditures of 55 million. But as you can see, our beginning cash balance was 55.5 million. So we are looking at proposed cash of 45. So 55, 45, 55, 45. It's it's an interesting pattern here. Okay, this is looking at our citywide revenue. This is actually, I pulled this graph from our digital budget online, so you can see these have nice graphs in there as well. Taxes citywide make up 47% of all revenues. It includes property tax, sales tax, real estate excise tax, and utility taxes. Charges for services is 18%, includes zoning and subdivision fees. Those are for when community development does their platting, that type of thing. Impact fees, traffic and park, that's traffic and park impact fees, and then stormwater fees. And then intergovernmental is the next largest, and that's 14%, and that is grants. And then the state shared funds, and that's our DUI, our liquor taxes, the motor vehicle fuel tax, all of those. This is another look at our citywide revenues. This is a breakdown of our tax revenues. As you can see, the property tax is at 30%. And then I have a breakdown table showing what funds those actually go into. So property tax is that 72-28 split between general fund and street fund. Sales tax is at 46%. That is broken down general fund and general fund reserve, and then the new transportation benefits program. We have been looking at an estimate of 1.5 million per year based on what we've received to date. We are thinking it might be closer to 1.7 million next year. So we have increased that budget. We have estimated this year, I believe it's around 900,000 instead of the 7 to 750 as we were expecting. So that has been an increase for the transportation benefit district. So that's good news. Utility tax is in the gray. That one is general fund, and then utility, this garbage utility tax goes into the street fund. And then REIT, that's our dark blue. That one is split between REIT 1 and REIT 2 based on restricted uses. Jumping into specifically general funds revenues for 2024. General fund revenues are looking at just under $22 million, broken down by tax type. We're estimating approximately $415,000 more in 2023 than currently budgeted. The budget amendment has some, the budget amendment that actually was passed tonight has some of those funds in it. Some grant funds, donations, sponsorships, that kind of thing went into that. This also, so this whole thing includes all those general, the general operating and all the managerial funds as well. So keep that in mind. That's including the permits and the pandemic recovery in here as well. Another thing to look at is the total general fund taxes at 15.6 million. The taxes here, sales tax is 37% of this fund. Property tax is 30%. And then taxes overall in this fund are 72% of the general fund, but overall citywide, they're only 47%. So although they're only 47 citywide, they make up almost the entire revenues for general fund. So intergovernmental, there's a decrease that's due to grants. There's various community development grants for some professional services things we did this year in general fund. General fund doesn't normally get a whole lot of grants, but we did get quite a few this year. And then the miscellaneous, that large one on the bottom, that includes the investment interest. And so we do expect that to decrease a bit in 2024. Looking at our citywide expenditures by department, you can see Public Works, that's the brown color tan over there, 31%. That does include the street, stormwater, and facilities. Park and Recreation is 13%. That's the bottom left corner. In gray, law enforcement makes up 20%. General government is at 19%, and that includes the debt, interfund transfers, legal and community. I will say that the Public Works and the Park and Rec both include capital in those. So They include capital equipment, capital projects. So that's why they are so much larger than the other departments. Administration, I did combine all of the administration, city clerk, finance, IT, and HR into that 7%. This is looking at your citywide expenditures by type. As you can see, our largest is actually wages and benefits at 38%. The citywide estimates, the expenditures are down in 2023 from the 2023 budget by approximately 8 million. About 1.4 million of that is wages. And then the remainder is mostly capital projects, and those will roll forward. The multi-year ones will roll forward into 2024. And you can see capital, we have at 25%. That's a large portion of what we're budgeting this year. This is our general fund operating, kind of looking at a few things here, comparison by department for 2023 and 2024. You can see the 2023 or 2022 to 2023 increased 18%. I don't have that on here. That was from my prior presentation, but expenditures increased 18%. And then from 2023 to 2024, we have them budgeted to increase 14%. Some information we have, cost of living increases for the non-represented is set at 4%. And then the guild non-commissioned are still under contract, and theirs is at 90% of CPIW, which is that 4%. And then we have placeholders in for the guild commission and the Teamsters, but those are under negotiation. And so that will be brought back to council as a budget amendment later. As you can see, general fund expenditures by type, we have the wages and benefit make up 69% of our general fund. Services is at 5.7 million. And then estimated 2023 expenditures, nearly 2.7 million less than 2023 budgeted, partially due to obviously difficulty filling vacant positions. These are looking at the specifics, recommendations for staffing. The graphs here, all of this information looks at the positions and FTEs and the amounts by quarter and by fund allocation. It's not necessarily the fund that the position is assigned to, it's the allocation across the funds. So Q1, I have highlighted in the peach color. That includes the part-time IT security analyst, the park ranger, and the reclassification of the city clerk to municipal services manager. That reallocates the divisions into one customer service communication division. Q2, we have records management specialist, the administrative assistant for community development, and the safety training coordinator. Additionally, we have the 2 street seasonal workers that are in the purplish color XX, but those are likely to be hired in the Q2, so we can get them up and running for the season. Q3, we have potential promotional opportunities in the community development department for planner and building inspector 2. And then additionally, near the bottom, we have the placeholders for the vacation cash out and HRA VIBA contribution programs. You can see the positions here proposed by fund, looking at 71% general fund, 10% stormwater, 19% street. And as I mentioned, this is allocated. These are positions allocated by their help in those funds. So all of our administrative positions are allocated out to street and storm as well. So although there's no new stormwater positions here, they do have a portion of the increase. This is a look at the 2024 proposed organizational chart. As in the past years, it is color coded as we have the dark blue, which is supervisor managers. The next lighter blue is all the funded positions that are filled. And then we have, I think they're just funded positions. Yeah. And then we have temporary positions in the gray, and then we have the 2024 budgeted positions in green. That is their full year positions. And then the peach, we have Q2. And then the turquoise, we have Q3. So you can see those added as we move forward through the year. And that is to save our resources. This is a look at our proposed budget summary citywide for added items. These obviously have been discussed and reviewed with City Council. The items requested and not yet fulfilled in 2023 may roll forward into 2024 via budget amendment in early next year. Those will be brought forward to council as potential roll forwards, but they should not affect the overall ending balances in 2024 as we show them as expended, fully expended in 2023. And so when we do the budget amendment, it will show the ending fund balance will increase, and then we will add the expenditures back into council next year. The largest portion of these proposed items is in the Public Works Department. And that is the majority of the items at the bottom, and that's the large alum treatment, the CCTV, stormwater pipes, and some equipment. If priorities change, then specific items listed may change, but only within the fund and that department. Looking specifically at your street funds, your proposed budget revenues, we're looking at taxes, largest portion, making up 67% of the revenues. Property tax is the largest portion of the taxes. And then we have motor vehicle fuel tax, which is part of the intergovernmental, and then the garbage utility tax. Expenditures, wages and benefits make up 53% of the street fund, about 2.1 million. Services includes programs like the pavement preservation, striping, and then I listed some of the additions for this year, including transportation plan implementation, engineering standards updates. Transportation plan implementation and the engineering standards updates are split with community development and streets, as that's a collaborative program. Some local road safety plan and some traffic calming program additions as well. This is looking at our stormwater funds. Stormwater drainage is based on the 3% increase in the fee schedule, and then a 1% increase for population. Our fee schedule does go through the end of 2024, and then rate study will need to be done. So it will likely be done during 2024 for 2025, likely multiple years as we did last time. Interfund transfers is a very large number, but that's mostly between the operating fund and then the capital and the debt service funds. And so you'll see that revenue as well as almost the same amount of expenditures. So, and then expenditures, wages and benefits make up 37% of this fund as well. So about 2.8 million. And this is another look at our capital project budget summaries. This is for your street and parks. We did include, as I mentioned previously, all the yeses and maybes. The yeses are the ones that were determined need to are higher priority this year, whether that's based on grant funding or a multi-year project or some other prioritization tool. The yellow highlights are those that are included in transportation benefit funding. So those were included in the resolution for projects for transportation benefit. And then the blue indicates when available grant funding will be used. So I've included the 2024 budget and then forecasted 2025 for those projects that are multi-year. And for the transportation benefit, we don't have all of the funds budgeted or all the capital projects budgeted at this point. We are looking at tax exempt drawdown bond anticipation note line of credit, so we can stagger the project draws and get more for upfront projects. So the engineers will be coming back to you. I think it's within the next couple of weeks with that an actual plan for the transportation benefit program, and then we'll work on bonding and debt loans for those. So this one is the facility and utilities and storm. Again, it includes all the yeses and the maybes. The light blue is when a grant will be used, and then the dark blue are likely bonded or some type of debt we're still working on. The 7 million and the 3 million that I've highlighted there for City Hall and Museum are not fully budgeted at this point. We have the estimated debt services that included in the 2024 capital budget, but not the full cost. That will come forward when we actually bring you forward the bond information. It will create the fund and we will do the budget amendment at that time. So I put in here a total planned capital projects for 2024, just over $24 million. Our proposed budget includes $14 million of requests. The remaining will be added via amendments, whether they're roll forwards from 2023 or debt funds for City Hall, transportation benefit, and then grants. So as we get grants and we get notifications that we have the grants, we then add the budgets in at that time. This is just a look at your transportation benefit program and this is for the sidewalks, walkways, trails improvements. Just want to keep this in the forefront that this is what we are continuing to work off of. And these are the roadway transportation benefit program, including that pavement preservation annual allocation. And as I mentioned, they will be bringing forward some additional information in the next couple of weeks. That is your presentation on your 2024 budget. Yes. Got it. Yeah, good clarification for Kellen.
Thank you so much, Director Stevens. Great information, well presented. Are there any questions, clarification questions from council?
When I first opened the packet, I got a little confused on page 59 of 82. I think you have the 2023 charts in there. I'm just verifying that I'm not crazy.
That's all the same thing.
If your presentation showed 2024 and it's got all the different people that we wanted to put in there, and this one's got the 2023, like the grant writer and things like that on.
No. Hang on, what was there?
So I blame Director Halverson for that because he's not here.
I appreciate that.
Oh, oops.
Oh, hi, Aaron. How you doing, buddy? Dang, I didn't check that one.
I will get that corrected because as I said, I have it on the website as well, but
Okay, that's fine. I just wanted to, if that's the way, if that's out for the public, I want to make sure we got it right.
I'll get it corrected.
Thank you. Any other questions for Director Stevens at this point? All right, we'll go ahead and open up the public comment part of our public hearing, and we will again start online. Do we have any?
Let me just say, Mayor, that we're obligated by law to let everyone who raises their hand, whether they're here or participating through Zoom, to do the right thing and speak to the issue, and not to do so making anti-Semitic or other loud comments of that nature. If you do so, the clerk will immediately mute you. So I hope we don't have any more of that. And if anyone raises their hand under a different name who was excluded from this meeting earlier, you will also be immediately muted.
Thank you. Thank you, Greg. I did have a couple hands up, but they're no longer in the meeting. So I do have a couple of people though that I recognize the names. So if you did want to speak to the 2024 budget ordinance 1173, please raise your digital hand.
No, great. Thank you. Do we have anyone in person who would like to contribute public comment to ordinance 1173, the 2024 budget? I see no hands raised. Thank you. All right, we will close the public comment section of this public hearing. Any further questions or discussions by council? Okay, we will go ahead and close the public hearing at this time. There is no action.
There is an action. We need to approve the first reading of the budget ordinance 1173.
Thank you.
My apologies.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you.
That concludes our public hearings for this evening. We will now move into item 12. Discussion item A, Cedarwood Partnership, and I will turn it over to Parks Director Garza.
Thank you. Let me just get this up on my screen here. So the Parks Department brings to you today, Council, the topic of Cedarwood. We haven't talked about the Cedarwood Community Center in several months, but we've been busy in the background working. And through our RFP process, we have chosen to move forward with a partnership with the YMCA to bring the Cedarwood Community Center to the public. As an overview, I wanted to go over the project timeline of where we have been and where we anticipate going in the future. So some of the completed items, Cedarwood was originally donated to the city by Mercing Housing in mid-2021. The city from there had a vision to turn this into a community center for all ages. From there, the Parks Department put together an RFP and distributed it in January 2023. We did public surveys in February 2023, which was concluded in March 2023. We had from that survey 394 participants with heavy asks for classes and camps for all ages. There were only, I think, 13 respondents out of that whole thing that said they wouldn't participate in a community center. So we had some really great feedback there. We've also done a wetland determination and a structural analysis for the building itself. Where we need to go in the future is continue to secure funding. We'll talk about funding here in a few slides. We will need to hire design and engineering so that we know what the future of the building can be. We're thinking between 8,000 and 10,000 square feet is the budget that we can afford at this time, and that would fit well on the land in this location. We'll of course have permitting through 2024 and 2025, and if all goes well, construction in 2025. I know not everybody has been there, so I took a couple videos while I was out there. Looks like it's going to come through a little bit choppy for the online version, but it'll give you a good view of how you move through the property and what it looks like here. As I accidentally went through several slides, I apologize for that. Here I have a video that I'll just run off to the side as we get into the financials of the location itself. We estimate this project to cost about 4.23 million, so about 4.25. With that, we've already completed 30,000 and expended that money for structural analysis and the wetland delineation. If the decision is to do a new build, we've allocated 40,000 for the demolition. The difference between revising this building and using the existing walls that you see is this building is split into 3 different locations. One was the indoor sports court, 2 are the storage rooms, and then has a separate restroom building. In order to revitalize this location, we would essentially be building a building inside of a building to get to 2 stories. In talking to resources, it doesn't seem like it's going to save us much money to do that. By starting from scratch, we would be able to guarantee the structural soundness and expand the footprint to the overhang of the roof structure itself and have a better means to expand over to the restrooms. It's not impossible to renovate what's there now, but we'll really have to get into the cost estimates in order to determine how to do this moving forward. We have design engineering permits allocated, and then the $4 million construction. That number was if we assume it would be $500 per square foot with an 8,000 square foot building. Of course, we don't know what the real build would be, but we're often seeing numbers right now of about 450 million. So we wanted to make sure we have some padding in those numbers as well. For funding, we do have $1.1 million secured through the legislative ask, which Washington State has granted us. We're in the paperwork phase of that one. We did originally ask for 2 million in the federal legislative ask, but at this time it's moving forward with a $1 million that is being promoted by Del Bene. The federal budget is on hold, so we won't hear back for at least 1 or 2 months at this time for that. We have already expended the 30,000 shown in this funding, and of course, we have a lot of funding to go. We will be looking for additional grants. Our partnership with YMCA will help us secure additional grants, and we'll have fundraising efforts and other options for securing funds down the road as well. With the Cedarwood partnership, what that looks like at this point is our next step will be creating an MOU. With that MOU, we'll be able to advance through these topics that need to occur to come to the completion of a new building. We'll work together on the design of the building and for securing those funds. We want to make sure that the end result would work for the community center, which would be ran by the Y. We have discussed looking at a 5-year initial contract once we're into that portion of it down the road. The city would retain the ownership of the building and the land, while the YMCA of Snohomish County would manage and operate the community center. The proposed name there would be the Lake Stevens YMCA. Programs and services under consideration would be designed to serve youth, adults, and seniors, of course. Facility constraints would not accommodate full-size gym or aquatic centers, which were some of the asks that came about a survey when we put it out to the public. So certainly things the community want, but are not feasible at this location. When we had put out the original RFP and asked the YMCA to give us a presentation, they came back with, if this was 10,000 square feet, this would be the vision of their proposed square footage within. 5,000 square footage would be donated to a wellness studio. Wellness studios are where we do our physical activities. We would have about 3,250 square foot for community rooms. So that can look like teen centers, places to hang out, classes, other types of activities. We cannot cut office storage and bathrooms. Those are very important for managing a facility like this, proposed at 1,000 feet. The Welcome Center would be 500 square feet, and then a teaching kitchen would be 250 square feet. When we asked what would be reduced, it likely would come out of the wellness and community center portions of this building. So our next steps, as mentioned, would be to create an official MOU between the YMCA and the city that would spell out how we're going to advance through the design phase and our future intent to enter into that agreement for managing the location. We would issue an RFQ for design and engineering, and then of course seek additional funding from private donors, grants, fundraisers, and possibly more legislative asks. I do have our YMCA group here in the second row to be available if you do have any questions for me or them at this time.
So I have a question about the teaching kitchen, or there's one at the food bank. I'm wondering how you, how those would differ, and I don't know at what capacity the food banks is at and how that would add to our, services that we provide for the community.
Yeah, and that's something we can certainly look into. I do know that they have built that teaching kitchen. With this, I believe that there's likely room for many more. Their only other kitchen that I know about, and I could be wrong, within our location is over at the senior center, where a kitchen could be used for teaching stuff. But in our surveys for the city, we didn't find other locations that have those services.
Was the open space, was that roof like basketball courts, things along those lines? Because I know that there's a lot of teams looking for basketball courts, things along those lines.
With keeping this at an 8,000 to 10,000 square foot, and the YMCA, if somebody does want to respond to that, you're welcome to step up to the mic as well. We won't have room for full sports courts. Basketball courts range in size. So when you look at youth and children's size, likely that would be the type that would be allowed in this facility, but it, to my knowledge, isn't meant to be a full competition room, full sports leagues. Wouldn't be what we would consider a full court for adult basketball, although it can certainly be used for recreational use.
I'm curious to know the difference between a gym, which it looked like wasn't an option, a full-size gym versus a wellness space, which you mentioned physical activity would happen there. So what's the difference between the two?
So you're welcome to step up, yeah, to the mic, and that way you're recorded.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
My name is Patsy Cuddeback. I'm the Chief Operating Officer of the YMCA of Snohomish County. Excuse me, my voice is a little hoarse. My address is 20360 Corbridge Road, Monroe, Washington. As far as the wellness studio, a lot of classes can happen in there. So it can have toddler classes, it can have yoga, it can have mommy and me yoga. We haven't quite decided, is there space for some workout machines possibly? But most likely it's going to be a lot of fitness classes, senior classes, chair aerobics, yoga, things like that.
Great. Thank you. That's super helpful.
Yeah, and I wanted to, if I could, address the teaching kitchen comment. When we had the interview, someone on the interview panel had mentioned about the teaching kitchen at the food bank, and we talked that through. If we have this as a community center and we have a lot of events there, there could be birthday parties, there could be potlucks. We heard, excuse me, we heard there was a lot of need for event space because you guys are filled here. So outside groups coming in and being able to use that space. So a kitchen can really add value if you're putting on events or hosting birthday parties, anything of that nature.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Okay. Thanks so much.
You're
Any
welcome.
other questions for anyone?
Just have a question for Sarah. The $4 million price tag, is that just for the building itself, or is there provision in that price tag for redoing the parking lot and such?
With our $500 per square foot estimate, it's assumed that at this time, our construction cost would likely be more like 450 square feet for the building itself, with the extra going to the supplement items around. But until we get into the full design and cost estimates, these are all just ballpark.
Okay, great.
Yeah,
Thank you.
we looked at kind of price sets of 300, 400 and 500 per square foot, with 450 being average today. We went ahead and rounded up for knowing the parking lot and the sidewalks around needed to be redone as well.
Okay, great. Thank you.
So the addition of a kitchen in this building brings up another point that we could possibly use as a part of our emergency management system in the city. For shelter during, hurricanes.
If we were to write that into the contract as we move forward with that, it's something we can certainly discuss.
Thank you. Any further questions?
I do. So the 8,000 square feet. So what is the maximum size building that could be constructed on the footprint, the existing footprint?
We will need to get into design and engineering for that. Director Wright might be able to speak a little bit more about permitting and restrictions. It's my understanding that we're not able to exceed more than the current footprint, although we would be able to go to the overhangs of the current building and then bridge the gap between the large structure and the restroom itself. We do have water on the back end of the property, and we don't have a lot of extra space. We want to make sure that we do retain space for the parking lot as well. Is there anything you'd like to add?
No, I think that's a good summary. The site is constrained with existing critical areas on the site that are contained. So really it is just the existing footprint. The building could obviously go up and add a third story if that was a desire. But as far as expanding the footprint, there's really not a lot of additional space.
The thought came to mind. So the food bank was originally going to be a single story, and then it became a second story. And so just looking with the limited footprint they have there, has allowed the food bank to offer services that otherwise wouldn't be available. And so I hope that's something that was a consideration, given the limited community space that we have within Lake Stevens, and we don't have any more dirt that's available. So I hope that's something that we can look into.
Absolutely. And to clarify, the current size of the existing building is 5,000 square foot. So with the 8 to 10,000 square foot, that is going to 2 stories. To get to 3 stories, we'd need to have a lot of great donors and other grants coming in, but we can certainly work towards that.
Thank you. Any further questions?
I just want to make a comment because I know it wouldn't surprise Mr. Ewing. But I have doorbelled that neighborhood, not once, not twice, not 3 times, 4 times at over the past 8 years. And that is an amazing neighborhood and it really needs our support. So many young people there. It just is great. And so I'm very excited about this project. Fingers crossed we make it happen.
Thank you. Thank you so much for being here tonight and answering questions. Appreciate it. Thank you, Director Garso.
Thank you.
Before we move into executive session, I was remiss in adding a quick question to the agenda. We don't have a meeting next Tuesday. It is the 5th Tuesday. The following Tuesday is election night, and typically we do not have a meeting on election night. I wanted to just check in with council and see if we want to continue with that tradition. That would mean that we wouldn't meet again until November 14th.
I would prefer not to be here on election night. I have some commitments.
Okay.
Do we have any pressing issues?
We don't have any pressing issues at this time on the in agenda planning.
Sounds like a good idea.
Okay. All right. If there are concerns, feel free to reach out to me. Let me know. Thank you.
I'd like to thank the YMCA for showing up. Thank you very much for your time.
Appreciate it. We are now moving into executive session, confidential session of the council per RCW 42.30.110. It is in regards to collective bargaining. There will be no action to follow, and we will adjourn as soon as we come back from that executive session.
Yeah, so we're gonna start with on your 15 minutes. 15 minutes. So it is 7:24. I'll give a minute to just get situated. We're gonna be back at 7:40.
Thank you.
I need to stop sharing my screen for a minute.
I'm not turning the video on, so. Good. You're next.
It's 7:40 and the council's requested an additional 7 minutes for executive session. We'll be back at 7:47.
The room is live.
Okay, it is 7:48. We need an additional 10 minutes, so we'll be back at 7:58.
Okay, we're unmuted and we're back.
Okay, we're back on.
Hold on.
Ryan, can you hear us? Councilman Donahue?
Yes.
Okay, we're back.
Second.
Aye.
Aye.
Good night, Ryan.
Night.